One of my favorite breathing and meditating postures or movements with the breath is the idea of the lotus flower end. So we're just breathing as class fills, but it's also really nice if you're anywhere sitting and waiting, and opening up your palms gently on your hands. As you inhale, the fingers unopen, the palm is open, and as you exhale, close fingers together. So just while we wait, if you're here early for class or early for any appointment, so inhaling, the hands open, and exhaling, the hands close. And as much through the nose as you can. Indeed, exclusively through the nose if that's available to you. Inhaling, the hands open. And exhaling, the hands close. And if you're just joining us, I did post on Facebook, but maybe not everybody was available to see that we're using a strap today. I've got a really stretchy one, but it's not necessary. And we'll be doing a hip series. So just another few breath movements, opening the flower of your hand to inhale and exhale. This is a really easy first beginner's meditation movement. If you're just learning to meditate, you want something to focus on, having your hands be that representation of the breath. So you do your meditation in the morning, get seated, and then just opening and closing your hands, your fingers. Now I want you to find just that timing that's unique for you, and just count to yourself how many seconds it takes you to inhale and how many seconds you're exhaling. Start to make them equal. So you might have to shave off a little bit or increase so that they become an equal inhale and equal exhale. We're going to take this same concept of just simply witnessing the breath, but now come onto your back, please, with your feet on the mat so that your knees can cave in and your feet can just comfortably wiggle out. And this time, bring your hands to your hip bones. Actually, let's start, with the ribs. So just sliding your hands to those area of the floating ribs, elbows out, shoulders relaxed, and hands gently placed here. And as you breathe in and out, feel the ribs moving along underneath your fingertips, underneath your clothing and your skin. See if you can manipulate the breath and feel it moving out to the sides. The ribs will move up in front, but also out to the sides. Feel that expansion all the way around. And then sliding the hands now down to the hip bones, the top of the hips. And then bringing the feet more in alignment with the heels, so the knees are going to come apart. And we're just going to rock from side to side the hips as if there were a ship. I'm going to show you in the air, just slightly rocking like a boat on the water from left to right, and just the slightest bit of lift you'll notice underneath your hands and from the pivoting of side to side. I want you to imagine now the strings of muscle tissue inside the pelvic area here, the pelvic bowl. So take the effort out of the feet. This is not coming from your feet. Even the thighs and the butt, they're not doing the movement, or you want to take out their participation and let it really be isolated side to side, this little slight rocking using the deep muscles within your pelvic bowl. Very subtle and slow movements here. Taking your time, dropping your awareness and concentration into the deeper levels of your body. Now let that rest back at center. So establish that your left and your right hip are going to stay neutral here. And we're going to begin to rock the pelvis so that you're arching the back, creating space underneath the mat, and then tilting your pelvis and curling your tail. But we're not going to pick the tail up just yet. That's all we're going to do is tilt forward and tilt back. And again, the feet and the butt, the thigh muscles, the hamstrings, they're not doing, they may have a little something, but let's take them out little by little. Start to stop using whatever force that they may be contributing and isolate right in the pelvis. It's tempting not to use the butt and the feet, but resist and see what's there. See what's left after you take your butt and your feet away from their having to contract and so forth. Because we're going in deep today for the hips, so we want to promote mobility. Okay, so let's arch the back. So that's where we tilt under, and there should be space. So I want you to take your fingers and I want you to slide, please, your fingertips until they touch, and just observe that amount of space there. And this is underneath the lumbar version of area of the spine. And now I want you to melt your spine, push into your fingertips now, and just lift your hips up slightly. And let's do that again. So we're going to rock the pelvis. Fingers should be able to move comfortably now. And then we're going to mash the fingers down and slightly lift. Let's do that just a couple more times. So I want your hands to feel, because we're going to use them up and down in a minute,
I want your fingertips to feel where the spine is really pushing down, because you can push really hard or not at all. In other words, imprint your spine into your fingers, and essentially when we move the fingers, it's into the mat. So as you lift up the butt and your legs are going to have some more muscle in here. Okay, so let's slide the hands up and start to bridge up a little higher, pushing down into the mat, and follow through with a tilt of the pelvis. And let's go all the way up into bridges and down. Now here's where the fingers are going to follow up. So a deep pelvic tilt. Okay, so we're going to slightly lift the hips. The hands are going to come underneath, and they're going to sweep under the spine as you bridge up. And then as you start to come down, the fingertips are going to sweep in front of you until the last thing to go down is your hips. So the fingers are going to go up the spine to wherever you're bridging, and then back out and down. It's just a way. So here we go. We're going to tilt and lift. So the fingertips are following, so that one vertebra at a time. They're kind of like the hall monitors. One vertebra at a time in a row. And slide the fingers out. So simply bridging up one vertebra at a time. The fingers are there. And now coming down, the fingers are really monitoring that one vertebra at a time. And now just having your pelvis rest for a minute here. And then hands alongside your body. We're going to slightly lift up the pelvis, just slightly enough that then you can rock from side to side. We're going to call this typewriter, for those of you that remember what a typewriter is. I do. So you're just lifting high enough that then you can shift your weight from side to side. You're not going so high in the sky here. It should be just an easy shifting. And observe the weight going from foot to foot. And taking out the butt muscles from participation. So we're really subtly balancing out the pulley system in the pelvis here. And then coming back to neutral and slowly bring the pelvis down. Hands back to the hip bones, please. And we're simply going to bring the right leg up and the left leg up, squeezing in together. And then we place the right leg down and the left leg down. And that's it. Place your hands down, lift the right leg, contract, lift the left leg with control, drop the right leg with control, drop the left leg. Just a few more of these as we advance. Awareness of pressing the spine down into the mat and creating that strength. Let's do that again. So right tabletop, left tabletop, right to the floor, left to the floor. And the hands are there underneath the hips to monitor whether one might be lifting and the weight is toppling over. So we want the hips to be right there at center. Okay, let's bring both hips in to hug into the body. Bringing the hands out to the sides and placing the palms of your hands down. We're going to squeeze the knees together and squeeze the legs together. And we're just going to tick-tock the legs. So as you start to bring the legs over to the right, just ever so slightly, that left hip bone is coming off the mat. And that's about as far as I want you to go now. Contract the left side and the left arm to come back to center. So we're working the diagonal. Start to bring both knees over to the left. The right hip starts to slightly come over, and then we're going to use the right hip muscles internally to bring it back to center. And so we do it again here. The left side draws the legs back center. As we lean over to the left, the power and the observation of the right hip bone drawing back center. And back center. One more time on each side. The legs fall heavy, requiring more strength from the navel. So the navel draws way back toward the spine and the hip flexor draws back. So let's bring the legs now back down. And here's where we're going to move into using the strap. So right leg is straight up in the sky, left leg is straight. Now before you put the strap on, just want you to feel where you're comfortable here. Some folks may want to have more of a bend in that left leg. So left leg straight is the optional. And all right, so hamstring stretch first. That's why I say you can start here with the leg on the mat or go right into the stretch. Walking the hands up the leg and or the strap. And you can take the head up if you like, head, neck, and shoulders. We're going to move in through some leg circles. So this does require a straight leg on the left side. So if you haven't already, straighten that left leg. And I want you to flex that foot nice and strong and push down into your mat, because we're going to use that left leg stability as we go around in a little circle. So the strap is going to go in the right hand, right leg is up, so the right hand is going to have the strap. The left hand is going to hold on to the left hip bone here as a way of monitoring that you're not going to go too far over to the right. If you've lost your left hip bone, you've gone too far, my friend. So continue in hip circles, stabilizing the hips. Don't worry, we're going to have a nice big, we're going to have a chance to open up that hip joint. But for now, feeling that stability that we can bring with awareness in the circulation. Okay, 2 more circles here, small. And let's switch the direction. Okay, so left leg is stabilizing the left side. So as you lean out to the right, you're not falling over. You feel the contrasting hip on the left side, the muscles drawing you back center. 2 more here, small circles out. Okay, so now we go into big circles. And both hands using your strap, you're going to go all the way around. And take your time. Doesn't matter whether your hip is off the mat or not. Doesn't matter. Smoothing it out. If you feel some snagging, right? The popping or that tendon going over bone, that gets better with more circles. And just avoiding, maybe not going quite as out. Let's switch directions, please. Maybe not quite going all the way far. You can avoid, it's not necessary to force anything when you get those little snag parts of your hips. Let's go one more all the way big. Hopefully you've gone to your widest, and we're going to hug that knee into the body, circling the ankle a couple of times. And we'll straighten that leg out. Let's take a nice long inhale. Exhale, point your fingers and toes. So hamstring stretch, other side, left foot takes the strap. And first, without the strap, just see where your leg is comfortable. Are you able to bring it up into 90 degrees? All right, so beginning to pull the leg into the body. So knee straight or straight-ish, depending on how tight your hamstrings are. Some folks might be able to straighten out and go into a full split here. So you can start to already get awareness and practice with that right leg being anchored down, flexing the foot, pushing the heel as we anticipate going into hip circles. So, which we'll do right now. Left hand gets the strap. Right hand is going on to the hip bone, and right leg is going to anchor it down as we move out. So start small and see where stability is and can be maintained while you open into circles. Oh, that was a little too big for me. So opposite side, as you lean out to that left, the right side's working hard to counterbalance, counter strengthen. And that includes the ribs too. I'm noticing ribs starting to want to disengage. Last two. And let's switch directions now. So stay within that area of control or stability. And likely you're even better at it than where you started. So you can get a little wider while staying anchored right here. And the right leg, of course. All right, now we're going to move into big circles. Watch your toes for the things around you. You might have longer legs than you realize. Don't worry about where the hips are coming up or not. All the way one direction and all the way the other. Let's switch. I'm not worrying about stabilizing. I'm just moving that ball in socket. Last wonderful two movements. I really had to make some room for myself in this class. I knew those legs. So releasing the strap, hugging the knee now, circle the ankle and maybe the wrist that was being used. All right, both knees back in. And we're going to bring both feet in and get prepared for the happy baby pose. So happy baby can start with feet together like the bound angle. And this might be just where you hang out. This might be what you're comfortable with. Some yogis may want to wrap their hands around the knees. Otherwise, you can start to unopen the knees and shine the feet up to the ceiling for happy baby. So the baby's getting the nappy change, and we want a long spine here. and breathe down to those hip pits. So we're really getting the hip flexors, and we're pushing the knees as you rock from side to side. You can push the knee towards the floor. Hey Joel, I forgot to turn on the outside lights. Would you mind doing that when you get a chance? Appreciate it. Thanks. Hang with me here in the happy baby. If you haven't squatted in a while, you might be feeling this one. And this can be taken in chapters. You can close the legs, take a little mini break, and come back. Come back. I do want to share something also that I've been working on, and it's using EMDR. It's an acronym that stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I was going to say reprogramming, but it basically is a reprocessing. So in other words, therapists use EMDR to break up emotional trauma. And so we can likely do this with physical trauma or discomfort rather. And it's just simply looking left and then looking right and looking left and looking right. And you're going to take a tempo that's about 1 second, hold 1 second. You know, you're switching your eyes from left to right, essentially left hemisphere to right hemisphere. And as we go through these next, good, we have another minute. We're at the final minute. As we go through these hip movements, you can take some of the edge off by going into EMDR. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. So it desensitizes whatever's the focus. And I've been experimenting with it in physical poses, and it seems to be having an effect in crossing over resistance. So love to hear your feedback as well. We're going to let the knees come back inward, releasing from the happy baby, and yogi's choice, whichever way brings you up into a seated pose, likely coming over onto your side is going to be a lot more of a softer way. So, or rock and roll up your spine. So we're going right into our pigeon pose, or swan, it's sometimes called. And for those of you that are new, you're going to start with your legs both bent and it's folding forward into the swan. For those of you that are used to the swan, aka pigeon, and in this case I have my right leg forward, so the back leg, left leg, it's going to extend. I'm extending through here and folding forward for a pigeon. Now remember that number that you had at the beginning of class when we were just breathing to ourselves, and I asked you to count how long does it take you to inhale, and then how long does it take you to exhale, and then equalize that number. So come back to that number and breathe in and out. to that tune, to that tempo. And then, dear friends, if it is too much and you're holding your hips back or you're feeling a lot of achiness, I encourage you to try the EMDR. So basically, you're looking from right to left, taking out the blinks as much as possible, just a smooth left, panning right, left, and panning right. And going in deeper here. We are in our final minute. And so starting to come up, rising up from the swan. We're going to take the back leg, which is my left leg, and come all the way over, ankle over the knee. Twist into that knee. So you're going to twist towards the knee, looking over the shoulder. Just a few times, fluttering that belly in and out for the inhale, exhale. And then continue that knee on top of knee. So wherever you can go, if this was about where your legs are capable of crossing, then stay right there. Otherwise, go ahead and get those feet even closer alongside your body for what's known as shoelace. And we're going from shoelace forward. Sinking deeper, we're already into the second half. So we're approaching the halfway point. Notice the pressure is from the central channel of the body, so breath must be expanded out to the sides and into the back. You're lifting your kidneys back there with every breath, opening out to the sides where we originally had our hands on the ribs. Slowly rising up. We're just going to add a little bit with the arms, just so that we can add a full body quality to the class. We're just going to take the arms up and over, nice side lateral bend. Inhale as you come back center and switch to the other side. So moving with your breath. One more time, each side. And then we go very gently and almost like a dance, because it seems so logical to go into fire log pose. So we bring out that bottom shin. Notice I'm wiggling it forward. And I'm going to place my shins on top of shins for the fire leg, or the double pigeon, sometimes I've heard it called. And you may need a little bit of a support under that knee to begin. So I'm going to hold the block there just to start with, and then eventually as the legs begin to relax. Now both feet are flexed here. And you can press down into your hip bones as you fold forward in this pose as well. And this one you may want to exercise that EMDR as you go through double pigeon. It can be an interesting challenge for even the most experienced yogis, which I can attest to right now. And by the way, EMDR does not need to be done with eyes open. You can do that from side to side with just the eyes. Doing so good, so good. This is not the easiest pose in this is probably one of the top 10 hardest poses. So probably doesn't feel good to hear someone say that as you're in it. So we're going to look side to side.
See if you can relax a little more. So you just follow. And I use my fingers because usually this reminds me of, my therapist doing this as well. If you've ever been to a therapy and they say, oh, let's do some EMDR, then
I highly recommend it. We're in our final minute here, ladies and gentlemen. Doing so good. In fact, EMDR is one of the bit of scientific evidence that does show changes within the chemistry of the brain and the response to and memories of trauma.
Okay, so let's move out of the fire log pose and simply come into straight legs. Let's see, I'm going to come into straight legs. Just a nice change, windshield wiper those feet. And then very simply bending to move and go into the other side. So we begin with pigeon pose or the deer. So this would be for beginners. Otherwise, we extend now the right leg back. And the hip flexor on the right side is extending forward and melting towards the floor. We're already into our final minute. And beginning to rise up from our pigeon. We'll start to bring that right leg around all the way, grounding the foot, and we continue wrapping into that knee to the right side. And I even like to pull my ribs open out. Keep the shoulders down and away from the ears. Really pushing that belly button back on your exhale. So we're flushing out the toxins in this twist. And then coming back into center, and we go into that shoelace. So keep sliding the leg on top closer in, and just nestle those feet in, and we'll take a forward fold into shoelace. So we're keeping in mind that this one really, for me especially, collapses the area of the trunk of the body where I'm used to breathing. And so getting ready to discover out to the sides and into the back. And if you have your hands and they're able to hold on to the low area, middle back, breathe and feel your body breathing right there, giving you more feedback. Slowly beginning to rise up. Stay in your shoelace for just a couple of inhale, center, and exhale, side bending. Finishing on this last side, which takes us into the double pigeon. So wiggle out that bottom shin and collect the feet and the ankles in stacking quality. So my knee and my ankle are stacked here, but there's a lot of space going on, a lot of tight going on. So continue your EMDR and hip opening here. So we're going to allow the time that we have 3 minutes on the clock.
Stay with me here, ladies and gentlemen. One more minute, everyone. Alrighty, let's come out of the double. It's been quite a while for me on that one. Oh, so windshield wipering the feet. And if you would please come back onto your back, hug your knees into your body. And placing both knees over to one side of your mat. Taking a very 10 breaths, very relaxed side twist here. You guys probably didn't hear that big stomach growl I just had. So that gurgling, all those signs and some sounds of the body. So nice to hear during yoga. It means that things have been moving around intercellularly. Good for digestion here in our twist. Last 2 breaths and we'll move it to the other side. And then gently move your body to this opposite for 10 breaths here. Enjoy these last 2 breaths here, just melting into your mat. And then either coming back to center with your feet nearest your hips and opening up your knees wide for final Baddha Konasana, or bound angle pose while you're lying down. Or another traditional shavasana of your choice. You could also be choosing to go into child's pose. So just bringing yourself, closing your eyes.
You can bring your hands somewhere on your person, comfortably resting, perhaps one hand on the ribs, the other on the hip bone, or both on your belly, someplace that feels just right. Bringing some awareness into your body. Just coming up in the way that we began, a seated pose, bringing your hands to your heart center. And we'll just sing an Om together. Seal the class, letting your breath rise inside. Om. Have a lovely night, everybody. Namaste.